Using the maps and charts is an important part of the overall navigation experience. Even from day one, you will be required to have basic skills when it comes to reading and interpreting what you see on the charts. Looking out the window and then at your chart can provide you with two very different views. How can you best marriage the relationship between what you see outside with what you see inside? To start, become familiar with the legend on the chart. I won't go through each piece one by one, but take notice of these main features. The legends on the VTA and VNC depict similar information, but some differences occur due to different features being displayed on each chart. Let's first take a look at the VTA chart. At the top, we see the name of the chart and the scale, as well as the projection type. We see the chart validity information and other details here. Next, we are shown airspace and route-related information. This is important because you need to be able to determine where various airspace begins and what altitude it resides at so that you can create that three-dimensional picture in your mind. Further down, we see VFR call-up and checkpoint references. Then we see information as it relates to the terminal control procedures of the location referenced on this chart. On the side of the chart, we see a scale and finally layer tinting. The layer tinting is important when trying to quickly determine elevations in different areas on the chart. On the other side of the chart, we see a lot of information. It is important to become familiar with all of this information. However, some of it you won't see often, so as long as you know that it exists and where to easily find it, you don't have to memorize it. We begin at the top with aerodromes. This section will show you how each type of aerodrome is identified, as well as the aerodrome data. Radio aids to navigation section is next. This will show how each navigation aid is identified. Below, we find the data boxes for the radio navigation aids. Here, we will find the various frequencies associated with each nav aid. Next, we see information around air-to-ground communications or voice communications. This is important when determining what kind of frequencies are available at various airports or locations. The next and equally important section contains information around airspace. Become very familiar with this section as you won't want to keep referencing it every time you see a change in airspace. There is a wealth of information here that you will need to know. For example, how can we identify a Class C control zone and its associated altitudes? Finally, we see the miscellaneous section. This section includes airport lighting information, which can be handy if you're flying at night. The VNC chart contains much of the same information. Beginning at the top of the chart, we see the location, type, and scale of the chart. We also see arrows pointing to north and south. This is because the chart is double-sided. One side contains the northern part of the coverage area, and the other contains the south. We see on the picture it displays the region that the chart covers, as well as the latitude and longitude in which the chart is contained. Further down, we see information about aerodromes, aerodrome data, and airspace information. Now on the reverse side, we find the navigation and communication information. We will also find the hypsometric tints and elevation information, as well as miscellaneous information. One important piece of information regarding elevation is the MEF, or maximum elevation figure. This number is depicted in thousands and hundreds of feet above sea level and refers to the highest feature in each quadrangle. This can be a helpful number to quickly determine a safe altitude within a specified area. Now let's open the VNC. Looking out the window, as we fly higher, it is easier to see features on the ground such as winding roads, lakes, and towns. The bird's eye view really does give us a great perspective. When it comes to looking at your chart, the same rules apply. Now we can't get too large a bird's eye view on our map when we are in the aircraft, but when learning to use the chart and while doing initial planning for a trip, I encourage you to open up the chart nice and wide, stand up away from it, and get that bird's eye view. When we do this, take note of the shaded lines we see. The lines of latitude and longitude, the airway and airspace structure, Reference your legend to determine what some of these things mean. By pulling ourselves away from the chart, you can clearly see the airways or highways in the sky, which we'll learn more about later, and you can see how the airspace around airports lies and intersects with those airways. I admit, when you first learn airspace, it's tough to wrap your head around it, but by taking that bird's eye view, you can get a better idea of the horizontal picture. Take some time to really familiarize yourself with the chart legends. Challenge yourself to find features on the chart that you see in the legend. Pay particular attention to the area around your home airport so that you can become familiar with the landscape and features you will see when flying. I encourage you to do the same thing with the CFS. Take a look at the legend and see what information is contained within, and get comfortable with knowing where to find the information that you might need.